just talked about. So just want to let you know that that's how things are going to go today. Today's training is geared at self-directing participants, employers, and their employees for the ME-VIA and supports waiver programs. So if you are training today, it's not for managed care participants or employees of participant-directed vendor agencies, ILHS. This is not for you. The training for that will be for next week. That'll be the 14th and the 15th. That is when those will be. Consultants or a community support coordinator of the services for ME-VIA and supports waiver programs, you are welcome. Call center staff, you are welcome as well to attend and ask those questions. Again, training is not for managed care participants or employees of agencies. If you are an employee of those agencies, you will not need to attend this training or any of the trainings this week. Your training will be next week on the 14th and 15th. All lines are muted. They'll remain muted throughout the presentation, and that's why we're going to use this chat feature. We'll use that chat feature for questions, and we have several times during the presentation to answer those. And like I said, please keep your questions focused on the topic that's being discussed. If we're not discussing it at this point, we may hit it down, down a few more slides. So if you're not sure, just hold those questions till the end, and we'll try and address those as they come in. Well, now we'll get to some introductions. My name is Cody Waits. I'm an account manager at Palco. I'm also an EVV implementation lead there. I've been providing, product development, Medicaid, financial management services for about 3 years now, doing a lot of these EVV trainings as they have been happening this year as implementation in other states and programs have been doing this. So been doing this a while, and I'm glad to be here. So Palco, our mission is we serve people, and we provide services that enable individuals to live independent lives where they are empowered to make their own choices about what's best for them. We embrace diversity of thought and the promise of new ideas honed by experience and enhanced by technology. And we're also a leader in self-direction. We've been providing premium FMS services to 9 states now and growing. We have over 14 different programs in those states. We are headquartered in Little Rock, Arkansas, and Arkansas was actually the first state to pilot self-direction more than 20 years ago, and we were actually the first fiscal employer agent. We focus on industry standards and person-centered practices. And we've been providing service in New Mexico since 2017. So we've been there a couple years, and we're glad to be doing this program as well. So you might be asking yourself, what is Palco's role in all this? So during this transition, we're going to be doing the enrollment part, EVV, electronic visit verification, payroll, accurate tax reporting and compliance, and then in Phase 2, which is a little bit later in 2021, around April, an online portal for time submission, reporting, and info will be provided to you. So this is what Palco's role is going to be with you on this program. And to help along this transition, we've got some transition forms to be filled out. So if you're the employer of record or the employer, we have an enrollment transition packet that is required to be filled out. You need to complete and return that to Conduit as soon as possible. And then also there is an employee transition packet, which is optional. And you only need to complete this if you want to update your payroll information, such as your withholdings or direct deposit. So if any of those things need to be updated, this is why you would need to fill out a transition packet. And then all forms moving forward, so any new enrollment forms or anything like that, those are all going to be Palco forms moving forward. The state and the federal forms will be the same, so we're talking about your tax forms mostly, W-4, I-9, things like that. Those will all be the same. And then another question that we get a lot about is about direct deposit, because it's a little bit different now. So all direct deposit setups will designate 100% of funds to the primary account. We will not be splitting payments across multiple accounts. I know that was a practice done before, but it is not something that Palco will be doing. And also, we'll be sending out check stubs to you, physical check stubs out to you. And this is kind of a preview of what those will look like. So you'll see the breakdowns of, the hours that you provided, the rate at which you're getting paid, payroll, any deductions that you have out there, and that it was made to your direct deposit, showing you both your gross and your net pay there. Now, down the line, when we get into phase 2, you'll actually be able to access this online and see this information with some of the software that we have. So we'll have training on that and show you how to log on to those when we get to those that point in the year. But that'll be in 2021. And then also, Palco ID numbers have been sent out via mail to every employer and employee. So when you receive this letter, some of you might have received it right now. Others, they just got sent out last week, so you may not have received it just yet. But when you receive this letter, ensure that you save that info and learn your 6-digit Palco ID number. That is going to be very important. That ID number is actually going to be a requirement to access any of Fiserv's Authenticare EVV systems. So the IVR system will require you to know those 6-digit Palco ID numbers. And then when we have the Palco system later, you'll need that number to access that to log in and see all your information there. Some other notes about the transition is Palco is going to implement our services in 2 phases. You've heard me already talk about phase 1, phase 2, but phase 2 will occur later in 2021. And it's going to give you access to Palco systems and more EVV options, so more of a mobile device option for that, and will also allow you to see those check stubs and run some reports and give you just a lot more information. But that'll be implemented later in 2021. Payroll information is being transferred by TNT conduit to Palco. If you would like to update or change your information, you will need to submit an employee transition packet right away. So only if you are changing anything do you need to send in that information. It's also our goal during this transition to make sure that you have no interruption in services. We don't want to disrupt anything to what you're currently doing. And for that reason, we will be doing off-cycle payrolls for the first month to accommodate any delays or things that may occur in the beginning. Whenever there are transitions, we always, need to anticipate some hiccups, and that's what we're going to do with these off-cycle payrolls. So basically, you have your normal payroll set up, and then we would run an off-cycle within a few days after that payroll to get anything out that needs to be paid out. And then all of the information that you hear about in this presentation or see in this presentation, guides, forms, any trainings, packets, they will be posted to our website for your convenience. And I'll have that information all at the end of this presentation so you can see the website that you need to go to or anywhere that you can download those things. I'm sure that my team is also going to be posting the link in the chat, and they'll be helping out as much as possible as well. So let's go ahead and start talking about EVV and what exactly it is. So first off, it's electronic visit verification, and you've probably heard a little bit of information about that as it's been, looming over us. So what is EVV? Like I said, electronic visit verification It's a technology solution which electronically verifies that home and community-based services are actually delivered to people needing those services by documenting the precise time that service begins and ends. And this is all required because it is a federal requirement. Actually, Section 12006 of the 21st Century Cures Act requires all state agencies to implement an EVV solution to manage their personal care services by January 1 of 2021 and for all home health services by January 1 of 2023. So it's a federal mandate, and that's why we have to comply with this, and that's why we're setting this all up. And then what does EVV actually verify? So what they're looking for are 6 points of data here. So type of service performed, individual receiving the service, date of the service, the location of the service, the individual providing the service, and then the time that the service begins and ends. So all of this is just to get these 6 points of data out. All right, and then Palco is partnered with Fiserv to provide you with one of the best EVV platforms that exists nationwide. Their software is called Authenticare by Fiserv. It's compliant with that Cures Act. It's very user-friendly, and it's secure. And like I said about the 2 phases, we're going to be implementing EVV in 2 phases as well. First, we're going to do it through telephony or IVR, which we'll discuss, and then a mobile application option will be available later in 2021, and we'll have a training separate from that, just kind of going over that mobile application and everything. So we'll be discussing that later. So what services actually require EVV? And I've seen a few of these in the chat, but wanting to make sure that you all know that for services below, you will be required to use EVV starting January 1 of 2021 and are not required to enter these services in focus unless you are granted an exception by the state. So what we're looking for here is the Homemaker Direct Support and Respite Standard for both Me Via Waiver and the Supports Waiver. Now I have a note about in-home living supports. If you are here about in-home living supports, those are actually provided through an agency, and that will actually be on another training. That training will take place next week on the 14th and the 15th. So if this is you and you're in this training, this is not the correct training for you. These are the services that we're talking about: the Homemaker Direct Support, Respite Standard, Personal Care Respite Standard. Those are the ones that we're looking for here, just to make sure that you're in the right training. So are there any questions that have come up from this initial part here? I see a question about in-home living support again. In-home living support will use EVV, but that is through agency. That the employees are working through an agency, and that will be a separate training. A couple of you have said something about cell phones and can they be used? We'll get to that actually, but I'll go ahead and go over that. Cell phones are permitted for IVR in the telephony option. And then who enters the location information in Authenticare? Well, it's actually captured whenever you call in. So wherever you're calling from, that location is being captured there. If you are an EOR, question is, who needs to submit a packet? If you are an EOR, you do need to submit an EOR transition packet. So if you're an employer of record, you do absolutely need to submit that EOR transition packet. The employee should only do an employee transition packet if they need to update any of their information, payroll information, withholdings, anything like that. we want to make sure that we get that changed. So, but that's the only time you'll ever need to worry about that. And I saw some about people needing to get forms printed out. The link has been posted in our chat for Palco's website. It's palcofirst.com, and you can always just go to the different programs there, look under the New Mexico programs, and you should be able to find more information there, including all of our forms. And you can download and print from there. All right, so I'm going to keep going. A lot of people are asking really good questions. I feel like some of these questions will be answered in further slides. So let's go ahead and talk about telephony and the interactive voice recognition, or it's called IVR. So what is telephony or IVR? Well, Authenticare's telephony IVR software allows you to utilize any touch-tone phone to clock in and out and meet the criteria of the 21st Century Cures Act. So if you have a mobile phone, if you're on a landline phone, those are both acceptable to clock in and out. And then obviously this is also called, IVR is also sometimes referred to as telephony. So if you hear telephony or IVR, they can be interchangeable whenever you hear those words. So to prepare for the EVV implementation, we've actually registered all the employees for EVV, and we will provide them with a unique Palco ID number. I had already kind of talked about this earlier, but that ID will be sent out to you in a letter. So employees are going to get a letter, employers are going to get a letter, and they will all have their unique Palco IDs in there. This ID is actually what you're going to use to create your shifts in Fiserv's Authenticare's telephony system, and it will utilize both a home landline phone or a cell phone. So again, I keep seeing some questions in the chat about not having a landline or any of that. So you can use a cell phone or a landline phone to access that. All right, and using telephony is very, very simple. So using a landline phone or a cell phone, follow the IVR instruction sheet, which we provide to you on the website, and follow that instruction sheet to dial the toll-free number at the beginning and end of the visit. Basically, at the start of your visit, you're going to dial that number. You're going to enter in your worker ID and your client ID, which will be the participant, and then you're going to follow the prompts to clock in. And then at the end of the visit, you're going to dial that same toll-free number, enter your worker ID, and follow the prompts to clock out. Very simple. One thing I do recommend is that you do get a hold of this instruction sheet. That way you can print it out. I would set it by the phone that you use all the time. That way you have that toll-free number handy all the time, and it will walk you through every single part of that. And now I'm going to play a sample of the IVR check-in call, and I'll do a checkout as well, and just so you can hear and prepare yourselves for what it'll sound like.
Welcome to Authenticare, Palco, New Mexico. Enter your worker ID followed by the pound sign. To check in, press 1. To check out, press 2. Please enter your client ID followed by the pound sign. If the service is Me Via Homemaker Direct Support, press 1. If the service is Me Via In-Home Living Support, press 2. If the service is Me Via Respite, press 3. If the service is DG Waiver Respite Group, press 4. If you are Mary Mason, if you work for Desktop Agency Incorporated, if you are providing DG Waiver Respite Group for Peter T. Rico, press 1. If this is not correct, press 2. check-in was successful.
At 10:50 a.m.
To return to the main menu, press 1. To end this call, press 2. Thank you for calling Authenticare Palco, New Mexico. Goodbye.
All right, and then
Welcome to us.
we'll go to the checkout call and show you what that sounds like. It's going to be very similar to this, so but I just want to make sure.
Welcome to Authenticare Palco, New Mexico. Enter your worker ID followed by the pound sign. To check in, press 1. To check out, press 2. Please enter your client ID followed by the pound sign. Please enter your activity code followed by the pound sign. To continue without entering an activity code, press 8. If you are Terry Mason and you work for Best Health Agency Incorporated and you are providing DD waiver, respite, group, or Peter T. Rico, press 1. If this is not correct, press 2. Your checkout was successful.
At 10:56 a.m.
To return to the main menu, press 1. To end this call, press 2. Thank you for calling Authenticare Palco, New Mexico. Goodbye.
All right, and that was the checkout call. If any of you felt that was difficult to hear, just know that the instructions guide that we have on our website actually provides you step-by-step. So it's actually going to let you know that exactly what is going to be said and those prompts as well. So we have a copy of that on our website that you can go through step-by-step. And then the number that you're going to call, one thing, again, I recommend downloading that user guide and having it handy so you can have that toll-free number when you check in and out. But for today's training, I'll go ahead and let you know that the number will be 1-800-222-2943. Again, that is number 1-800-222-2943. All right, we're going to stop and answer a few of the questions that I see coming in. Again, if you go to that website that we've linked there, I believe Katie just dropped in a link there, user guide there. You could just click on those links, and that will take you to those user guides, so you can see that. Also, if you can navigate to our website, it's palcofirst.com, and it's /New Mexico. If you go to palcofirst.com, at the top of the screen you'll see where it says programs or states. Just find the New Mexico one and click on that, and you should be able to find more information there. There are some drop-down menus there that you can locate all of this information. All of the forms are there. I just keep seeing some more questions about those forms. See here. If I'm missing anything, Lexi or Katie or Carolee, feel free to jump in and answer anything that I might have missed. But it looks like a lot of things were already addressed. Are electronic signatures acceptable on the transition form for EOR? Yes, electronic signatures on the transition forms are acceptable. Customer service calls, anything like that, please contact Consolidated Call Service Center. That number is 1-800-283-4465. This is a customer service number, not to be confused with the other number I just read off. I'll have this information at the end. We are not using activity codes for New Mexico. So in that prompt, it's kind of already in their system as that prompt. But if you heard it, it said you could press 8 if there are no activity codes. So when you get to that part of the recording, you would just push 8 if you didn't have any activity codes, which you won't. Question is, are employees the only ones that are calling in right now? Yes. EVV will be done by the employee, whether that is this IVR or in the future it'll be a online mobile application that you can use from smartphones. Those will all be done by the employee. And to see this training again or to hear that again, we're actually recording this training and we'll be posting it on our website so that you can, click on that link and go there at any time. Keep seeing a question about vendors going away. Vendors are not going away. There's also no geofencing on any of this, so if you're outside of a certain area or anything, it will still capture your location. No problem. So if you are picking somebody up from work or you're out in the community or anything, these are home and community-based services. So we want to make sure that you know that you can do IVR from any location. Again, I see a couple questions about EOR submitting enrollment packets. If you are an EOR or employer, you do need to fill out a transition packet. All right. So I'm going to go on to kind of finish up, and then we'll get back to some of these questions at the end here, because I do see a couple questions in here that are relevant on my next few slides. So seen a couple questions about this. So non-EVV services. If you are any of those the non-EVV services, those will continue to be entered into the current focus system, and they'll follow the same procedures. No changes there. These are all services except for these personal care services and respite services. This is for the MeVia waiver. This is also for the supports waiver. So if you are doing any other services besides these, just keep doing what you're doing and enter into the current focus system. And then here's some information about how the process behind how EVV shifts actually turn into claims. So first off, the employee is going to clock in using EVV. Those shifts are stored in Authenticare. Authenticare will then transfer that data to Palco, and we'll have budget validations and utilization checks to run against that claim, and then Palco will process those payments. Just some next steps for you as we are moving on. If an employee wishes to change any information, again, regarding payroll or direct deposit, withholdings, things like that, they will need to fill out an employee packet and submit to Conduit. If you haven't turned in your EOR enrollment packet, please do so by submitting to Conduit ASAP. Beginning April 1st, 2021, you and your employee will use your Palco IDs to log into Palco's system. We will provide training on that at a later date, but just wanted to let you know that those will be coming out later in 2021. And then I know I've seen a few of these out here, but questions regarding this, the frequently asked questions guide, the user guide, these training slides will actually be on here as well. Employee forms, they're posting those in the chat as well. You can just click on those links and that will take you directly to the site where you need to go. Also, New Mexico's Medicaid portal link is in there for any of those Medicaid forms that you might need to have access to. And then I'm going to open this up for questions now, and I'm going to let some of my team get on here and answer some of these questions as well. But I'm also going to post this slide, which is additional support. So if you have questions, please contact Consolidated Customer Service Center at 1-800-283-4465, and then you'll press 5 for assistance. That will take you and put you in their queue. But again, that's 1-800-283-4465, and then you'll press 5 for assistance. And then I saw some questions about where we send any of the enrollment paperwork to for Conduent. You'll do the fax numbers listed here. The email is me.via@conduent.com. The mailing address is here as well, P.O. Box 27460, Albuquerque, New Mexico. And so any of those things that we discussed that you're needing to get in contact with somebody about, these are probably going to be your best bets here. All your enrollment paperwork goes to Conduent, and then the Consolidated Customer Service Center number here to answer any questions and help you out with printing needs or anything like that. Again, some people have been asking about employees, whether or not they need to complete a transition packet unless they have changes. They do not have to complete a transition packet unless they have changes to their current information. So if they're changing their direct deposit or they need to change withholdings, that's when they will need to turn in a transition packet. So if you are an EOR and you are looking for training, this is actually the training. So the employee is going to do most of the heavy lifting here, and they're going to be the ones that are calling into to the EVV line. Vendor training, again, if you're in here from vendors, you've lasted the entire time, but this isn't your training. So the training next week will be 14th and the 15th. And we sent letters out to those agencies to let them know about those training times. I don't know them right off the top of my head. And again, these trainings will be posted online, not only just the slides, but we'll actually have a video of this as well. And you'll start using EVV, those designated EVV services that we talked about, you'll start using those January 1st. Payment request forms, I saw a question about that. They are not going to be utilizing EVV, so that doesn't have anything to do with this currently. Let's see here, seeing a lot of questions rolling in. Let's see here. Vendor training, already answered that one. there any slides? Let's see. I'll go back to show a slide for our resources page one more time, just so everybody has that. All right. And if you're an EOR and you're needing to train your employees for this system, you will need it will be your responsibility to help them out with this. But it's fairly simple. As long as you follow along with the guides that we have, it should be pretty easy. They're calling in and just making sure that they put in their Palco ID number. I've seen some questions about electronic signing, things like that. They can be signed electronically. You'll do that, I believe you do that through your PDF, whatever PDF reader you're using, whether it's Adobe or something else. But you can do that with your e-signature on there. See some other questions coming in. Nothing. So I've seen some questions about reporting, daily progress recording. Nothing will change about the way that you're doing those reporting. Still continue to do the reporting the normal way. This is just about how to clock in and out of your time. I saw some questions. If you are doing either one of these services that we talked about for EVV, make sure that you are doing these services through EVV. You will not be using that going into Focus and putting that time in there anyway. Yeah, and so does the EOR still approve time through Focus? Yes, the EOR will still approve time through Focus. Bear with me. There's a lot of questions coming in here, and that's why we scheduled an hour. And Katie or Carolee or Lexi, feel free to jump in at any time if I'm not seeing anything. And if you are, I see a couple of these about if you make a mistake when you're clocking in or if you forget to clock in, you will be able to see these shifts through Focus, and you can go in there, make any additions that you need to, change anything. You can do that through Focus. Will the hours entered through IVR get automatically entered into Focus, or EOR will need to manually enter times to match what they called in? The answer is yes on that. They will automatically be entered into focus. If anything is missed, make sure and put that in there as well. I see a question about some of the like clocking in and out. If you're clocking in and out, it takes usually about probably a little over a minute, minute and a half to get clocked in. Same thing for clocking out using IVR. The more that you use it, though, the more you'll adapt to it, and it'll be like clockwork after a while, so you can get that done in a shorter amount of time. And later down the road, Palco will be replacing Focus in 2021. It's our own timesheet submission system, and we will do training on that separately from this. So direct support notifies EOR if they forgot to clock in and out and it's corrected, entered in focus by the EOR. Yes, that is exactly how that'll go. A caregiver can clock in and out from their personal cell phone. That is correct. Can the EOR packet be sent via email? I believe they have that capability. But if you have access to the internet, you should be able to go to our website and get that and download that yourself as well. You don't have to wait on anybody to email that or send that out to you. Just go to palcofirst.com /new-Mexico, and that should bring up those programs, and you should be able to get to the EVV section and download any of these forms here.
This is Carolee at Palco. I'm going to jump in, Cody, for a second. I just wanted to add, there's a question about working over 40 hours and how to clock in and out. The amount of hours that is currently approved remains the same. So if you are only approved to work 30 hours, then when you're doing EVV time, if it's for an EVV service, that would also only be for 30 hours. I hope that answers that question.
Thank you, Carolee. A couple questions that have come in. Can we use one cell phone for all employees to clock in and out? Absolutely. There will be a spending report for EVV services. I saw a question about that. Does the system automatically cap a person's weekly hours based on their approved care plan? No.
Can I just add to that, Cody? This is Carolee again from Palco. So the services that are approved and the current amount of services that are approved right now remains the same. That doesn't change anything for EVV. If you attempt to enter in more hours than are approved, it just won't pay the extra hours. There'll be an issue with your timesheet. So that's why it's really important to continue to follow the approved hours and services that exist right now. And if time gets skipped, that's when the EOR can go into focus and manually enter the missing time.
All right. Anybody, any other questions that we're seeing here? Do I need an independent enrollment packet for each? For if you are an EOR for multiple participants, you will, yes.
Okay, this is Carol Lee again from Palco. There's still a lot of questions about in-home living support. In-home living support is through an agency, and this is not the correct training. The next training for agencies and in-home living support is next week. And the question about if somebody needs to complete an EOR transition packet, if they have vendors, the EOR transition packet is only required if there are employees. That's when there is an employer of record.
Don't want to speak out of turn here, but I see a lot of people asking about those packets and everything. You can always access those packets on our website, or if you have any other questions about those, please contact Consolidated Customer Service Center at the number that I've listed here. It's 1-800-283-4465, and go ahead and press 5 for assistance, and they should be able to help you.
And this is Carolee from Palco again. So we do have confirmation from Conduit that they will mail out packets. So just follow the normal process. You can either email them with the request, or you can call the customer service line. It might be faster just to email and then give them your mailing address and everything. It'll be faster, and request what you'll want to request is the EOR transition packet.
And see the question keep popping up about EORs and whether or not they need to fill out the paperwork. If you are an EOR, you do need to fill out. It is required that you fill out the transition enrollment packet. So you will, I see a question here about clocking in at a location that's listed on the paperwork. Wherever you are providing that service, that's where you need to clock in and out from. Again, if you're a vendor or an agency, the training for those will be next week. And letters are being sent out with that information. It will be on Monday and Tuesday of next week. And I believe somewhere in the chat, I believe Lexi had placed the schedule for that training. And there she did it again. So, and it will actually be the same information that got you into this training will be that that agency training. So if you are taking them grocery shopping, doctor's errands, do we clock in and out for each location? Whenever your shift starts, that's where you're going to clock in. And wherever your shift ends, that's when you're going to clock out. So if you have to clock in and out between those things, you will need to do that. But that's up to the employer of how you're clocking those. So whenever, go ahead.
Sorry, this is Carolee from Palco jumping in again. There is a question about COVID. So if you have specific situation, COVID or anything else that is requiring some sort of special situation or then what you want to do is to follow up with your employer, and they'll follow up with the consultant and to get more information on that. Again, it's everything that's approved right now, your amount of hours, your services remains the same, unless it changes as you go through your normal process to do that. If anything changes, we know that's extremely rare.
Mm-hmm. I see some questions about what phone you can use. You can call in from any phone. I saw a question as well as, what if a caregiver has limited phone connectivity, cell phone doesn't always work in rural areas? Then I would, hopefully there's a landline available there, or there's someplace. You don't need to have service for very long, so if you know a special spot in a house or anything that has more service, I'd go to that spot and make that call. It's usually about a minute or a minute and a half to get those clock in and outs done. And if you are having trouble filling out the packet, I would call into the Consolidated Customer Service Center. They can definitely help you and walk you through that. Doesn't have to be a smartphone. It can be a flip phone. So all right. Any other questions? Carolee, Lexi, or Katie, do you need to jump in with anything that I might have missed? Again, if you're having any troubles with the packet, please call Consolidated Customer Service Center at the number listed below, or above, sorry. And you can log in. So I think you mean clock in. You're going to clock in wherever your shift starts and wherever your shift ends. Clock out when it ends, wherever you're at. So if you're out and you're going to a doctor's appointment, anything like that, you're going to call in from those locations. That's why you can do it with, a cell phone or a landline phone. You can do any of those. I'm seeing a lot of questions about like specific scenarios, and let's see here.
Cody, I'll take the question about the 99509. This is Carolee from Palco. If you are providing 99509, that is one of the EVV service codes. If you work directly for the participant and have an EOR through the MeVia supports waiver, you are in the correct training. If you provide 99509 through an agency, that training is next week. So it really comes down to if you provide services directly for the participant that has, and there's an EOR and an agency is not involved. Question about picking somebody up from brother in town, not home. I recommend that you follow up with your employer of record and or consultant if you have specific questions about what is covered and what is not covered. That does not change.
Again, on the home living supports, that training will be next week. That is not this training.
And this is Carolee with Palco. If you are an employer of record and you have multiple participants, you only need to do one EOR packet. There have been a few messages in the chat about not seeing a participant name place. That is correct. So it just needs to have all of the employer of record information. There's a question about the participant is the EOR, but we do work with an agency. What matters is if the participant and EOR have employees that are working directly for them. And you'll know that because the EOR, which could be the participant or somebody else appointed as the EOR, will be signing timesheets and taking that role. If you are working for an agency, then there will be somebody else that you are submitting your normal timesheet through, and that training is for next week. This is Carolee from Palco. There's a question about if somebody does not have any cell phone service or that they live in the mountains. It depends on what you're doing right now. If you are submitting time online, then you should still be able to do EVV. If you have some sort of special permission to do paper timesheets because you just simply can't do the electronic, then that continues. You do not do EVV. I know that there's very few people that that have that. And there's a question about submitting timesheets on Focus. If you submit timesheets on Focus, you still continue with that process. For any services that do not require EVV. The services that do require EVV are the homemaker support and the respite services. So it may be that you are doing homemaker through EVV, and then you have other services that you're providing. Those would go through Focus. So there are more questions about mountains and being in an RV. I really recommend that you follow up with your consultant on that.
All right. I'm seeing a lot of kind of the same questions. And then questions about other service codes. The service codes that are only listed, that we listed earlier, are the only ones that are going to be used using EVV. So I'll post those again just to make sure that we're all on the same page. So the personal care 99509 or the respite T1005SD, those are the ones that are requiring EVV. If you are doing anything else, those will not be using EVV. You'll just continue to use the system that you're currently in. I believe the only exceptions are done through the state. This is if you have those exceptions, you won't have to do it. But EVV is federally mandated under the 21st Century Cures Act. We don't have any say over that. So. right. Some questions about the no service. Again, you'll need to speak with the state about that. This is a federal mandate. We can't. There's no wiggle room for us around this. So. See a thing about transportation miles that still goes through focus. Yeah.
Hi, this is Lexi from Palco. We are at the top of the hour. We just want to reassure you that we will address all questions in the chat box. We look for trends, and we will be updating our FAQs as accordingly to these questions. The consultants that were on this call, please feel free to address these with your leadership teams if you're not sure about the answer. And we'll continue to address any other issues for the audience that was here today. Thank you so much for joining us, and have a great day.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you so much. And hope you have a good rest of your day. We'll have several other trainings for the rest of this week that you can come on and ask any other questions that may come up. So just let us know in those trainings. Thank you all so much, and hope you have a good rest of your week.